Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Amish Wookie, and today we're going to learn how to build a skyscraper. Skyscrapers are pretty easy. I've done them quite a few times, and to be honest, there's not much to it. All you gotta do is get a few blocks like so. Basically, the really important things that you want when you're getting blocks is you want like a main block, one type of accent block, which I'm choosing birch here. You don't have to choose wood or stone. You can choose whatever you want. Some sort of light, and then a few different detail blocks as well. And usually you'll want some sort of glass. The first thing to do when you start building a skyscraper is figure out a shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and measure out a square real quickly because, again, it is the easiest shape to do. Rectangles are also pretty easy, and so are circles. But usually what I like to do is get a odd number of squares in the middle. All right, and now that I have the two corners of my skyscraper, I'm just going to go ahead and make it into a square. This is the first technique I'm going to show you. I have a couple techniques when I build skyscrapers. This one is a little bit longer than the other method, but it works just as well, and it also gets you to think about your build a little more. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to go ahead and make a bunch of little holes for windows so that I can put some accents. All right, now that I'm done kind of building the outside of the skyscraper on the first floor, I'm going to go ahead and make the floor itself. All right, we're just going to go ahead and use the fill command from here to here. Bam, you can hit tab and you'll be able to just go ahead and really quickly fill that in. And then I'm just gonna hit birch planks. There you go. The entire floor is now birch planks. And then something else we're gonna do is we're actually gonna do the same thing to the top. And now we have a ceiling. If you don't really wanna worry about lighting too much, honestly, just place one right there, place one right there, and then maybe place like one in each corner. This is a pretty basic lighting setup, not too much detail going on, but it's always cool. So the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna place some details on the outside. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just place some anvils. All right, I have those anvils placed as my first little layer, and now I'm gonna start placing some other blocks and try to kind of create something around the structure. All right, we have a few details on the outside now, and I'm just gonna add one or two more just to kind of make it a little bit nicer. Now that I've done that, we're basically done with the outside. All I'm gonna do one last thing is just place some windows, and I'm gonna place them from the inside to make it go a little faster. All right, and one of the last steps that we have is we're just gonna add a staircase in the center so that you can get up and down the skyscraper. And now we're almost done with the entire skyscraper. We're gonna do the part that's actually kind of cool, and we're gonna make it into an actual skyscraper. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna clone one edge of the build right here, and we're gonna clone the other one right here. Bam, and then we're just gonna go ahead and do tildes, so that's cloning it from my relative position. So you can see here that it cloned the first level on top of itself so that now there's 2 stories, and we can just keep doing this process if we want to, but I'm gonna make this go a little bit faster by using the block that's directly underneath me. That way I can just keep going really fast. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're cloning is that there is a maximum amount of blocks you can clone at once. It's something like 32,000 to 33,000. I'm not entirely sure what the exact number is, but somewhere in the 30,000s. Now that we've cloned the first level on top of itself several times, this is what our skyscraper looks like as of right now. There's 2 more things that we need to do, and that's gonna be making an entrance. So I'm just gonna make a little doorway so it looks a little bit nicer and polished, and kind of make a little entrance. There you go. So you have a doorway right here, and once we're at the very top, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a railing around the entire outside. All right, and that's essentially a completed skyscraper. The only thing we haven't done is made an interior, but I'll show you that with the next build I do. So here I'm gonna show you the next method, and I'm just gonna go and get myself some blocks. I'm gonna use a different color palette or block palette than I did in the last build. I'm going to place a block right here. I'm gonna count out a odd number of leaves. We're at 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. 13 should be pretty good. Let's do 15. Heck, let's do 17. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and build this up a little bit. I'm gonna make this a little bit of a taller storied skyscraper. I'm just gonna go ahead and type out fill, not the person fill, the command. And then I'm gonna finish the command right here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and hit polished black stone bricks. There you go. And now we have this big, huge rectangular prism full of black stone bricks, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of the inside. Bam. And now I have this entire hollowed out base. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and create a floor. I'm gonna go ahead and hit fill again. Again, commands are really useful in Minecraft. They help you do a lot of things. And I'm gonna go ahead and make this polished diorite. Bam, there you go. Now we have a floor. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a little lighting pattern on the floor to make this build a little bit more interesting. Now we have that done. That's gonna be our floor right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and clone it on top of itself so that I don't have to do the ceiling either. Now, when it comes to cloning, there's one really important thing you need to make sure you're doing, otherwise you're going to ruin some of your builds. You always want to be in the most negative Z and negative X point in your build. If that doesn't make any sense, look at the F3 I have on right now. This is also the most western and northern point you can be in your build. So for me, that's going to be in this corner right here. And this rule will always be true for anywhere in your world whenever you clone. So I'm just going to go ahead and clone this on top of each other. Bam. And there we go. Now we have a ceiling. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little staircase as well. Now we have a base and we have a staircase. Now all we need to do is add in the windows, texture on the outside, and the interior as well. Now, one thing I'm going to do to make this go slightly faster is I'm actually going to fill the entire space again. I'm going to fill it with my windows. But one thing you have to be very careful about when you do something like this is that you have to make sure that you're not going to destroy the blocks you've already placed down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit glass, and then I'm going to hit pane, and then I'm going to say replace the air. So now this is replacing all the air that was inside this build. Now there is one problem. It did replace all the air actually inside it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. And I'm going to get rid of the windows that are inside the actual build. And I'm going to go ahead and hit air and then replace those glass panes I just did. And there you go. I just put windows on every single wall without really doing too much work. And now that we got to this point, the last thing we need to do is just add some details on the outside and finish the inside. After fooling around with the design a little bit, I kind of landed on this design. So all I got left to do is just copy this exact design around the entire build. One other thing I'm going to do with this build is I'm going to add a light source around the outside. You don't have to see the entire light source. You can obscure it a little bit, but what it's going to do is it's actually going to make your building pop a little bit more at night so you can see it and it's a little bit brighter. I've added the lights on the outside. I'm just going to go ahead and add some furniture on the inside to make it look more like an actual building. You can make it look like an office, you can make it look like an apartment building, whatever your heart desires. In my case, I am going to make this look more like an office. I have gotten to a point where I'm pretty satisfied with the interior decoration. There's still a few more things I could add or whatnot, but I think it's good enough to showcase the point. So again, we're just going to do the exact same thing as last time. We're going to go ahead and start cloning the actual build. Now make sure that you include the entirety of the build. You don't want to clone from this block. You want to clone from this block because it includes all of the outside. And again, we're going to go to the most western and most northern, or the most negative Z and negative X. And we're going to go ahead and build out to here and start cloning our build. Another thing you can do if you're confident in your math skills is you don't even have to use the coordinates of the last one. You can just say based on my location, and then this little thing just basically means one block underneath me. All right, there we go. And that is our second skyscraper, and this one is fully furnished. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make a little entrance, and I'm going to get rid of these bookcases. Now, one thing I didn't realize as I was cloning, but now I do realize, is that I did include some blocks where the staircase was going to be. Even as someone who's made tons of these skyscrapers, I didn't even realize this. So now I am going to have to go through and get rid of all of these. Otherwise, obviously, you can't go up the staircase. And that little mistake just goes to show you that you can't really be too careful about what you're cloning, because if I had cloned in the wrong spot, I could have cloned this entire floor accidentally over here and destroyed some of this skyscraper. So you always got to be careful with what you're doing with your commands and how you're planning it out. But anyways, all that said and done, this does look like a nice skyscraper, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it to nighttime to show you kind of what it looks like now that I put some lighting on the outside. Now that you can kind of see the two side by side, you can tell that this one looks a lot brighter than this one does. This one has some shadows to it. Now, this does have its pros and cons. Obviously, this one looks a little bit brighter, but as a result of me putting the lights on the outside, it looks a little bit flatter. It doesn't look like there's too much shadows or detail going on, but this one looks like there is some shadows going on. And now that I put some shaders on, you can definitely tell the design choice and putting lights on the outside definitely adds a lot of pop and a lot of flair to the build itself. Overall, there's just really no limit to what you can do as long as you have enough creativity and you know what you want to do with the builds. Anyways, so that's going to conclude our video for today. That is how to build a skyscraper 101. And it shouldn't take too long to really nail down the styles of the different skyscrapers you want to create. I believe I created this skyscraper in less than 5 minutes, if I remember correctly. Oh, no, 10 minutes. Okay, it took me 10 minutes to create this skyscraper right here. And honestly, that's really impressive once you really think about it. But yeah, the only thing really left to do is just to practice and get better at your craft and what you do. For anybody that got to this point in the video, thank you so much. I appreciate you for watching to this point. Like if you liked the video, I appreciate it a lot. Otherwise, in the meantime, I will see you soon.